Hey folks, this is Picohan from the North American server, and this is the Queen Elizabeth. The map is Neighbors, it is Domination Mode, and a shout out to clanmates Mofton in the Perth and Bremen in the Farragut. So, the Queen Elizabeth is a bit unlike the two ships before it, in that it's much more like a traditional battleship. It doesn't have the really good HE that the Orion and Iron Duke have. It does, though, have 15-inch shells, which mean that you can pretty much overmatch the bow of any battleship at your tier. This is good because the shells have a short fuse time and not very good penetration, which means that against thick armor, they're more likely to shatter or bounce. However, since overmatch doesn't actually depend on penetration or the fuse time, putting those shells through the thin bow armor of same tier battleships, or even slightly higher tier battleships, will work just as well as with any other battleship. That being said, the Queen is generally considered not that good of a battleship. It's slow, it doesn't tank that well, and it doesn't have the very good HE that the other British battleships have. There is one good thing about the short fuse time, and you kind of saw it against the Graf Spee, which is that against more thinly armored targets, the shells are less likely to overpen and more likely to have a normal pen or citadel, and so on and so forth. At the same time, the shells do travel very slowly, so you could have a harder time hitting those thinly armed targets, like cruisers. But again, as with any other slow battleship, you want to try to put yourself in a more central location. It's a little bit less important for domination, but somewhere where you can react to threats. So in this game, we're about to get B, and the Reds are all in the northeast side, so I'm going to try to hold my position here and prevent them from coming in, because we can probably get A and B, and then in which case they'll need to push into us, which is, it's always very good to have them pushing into you. This particular spot is where I chose to stop because a lot of people were behind islands. I'm moving a little bit, trying to keep the most number of people behind islands. And you can see I don't actually take that much fire. As I do start taking more fire is when I start moving. And just try to keep everything like that. I chose the Baron for a target here because he has a lot of superstructure that I can get regular pen damage into, and he's also the closest target. And you can see a 9k salvo with just two turrets. That's pretty good. So this is just a bit of a balancing act here. I'm trying to keep a fair number of enemies behind rocks, but still have something that I can shoot at, and then also not let the whole team get too close, because I am the closest ship, and I am basically the only thing they can shoot at, because the rest of our team is far out east or behind me. Just kind of looking for targets. Of course, the Belfast is the best one because we can delete him. The Reds did capture B for a little bit, but since we had our whole force at A, we were able to push him out pretty easily. I moved back toward the center pretty aggressively because I felt like the flank that was pushing clockwise would catch up to me a little bit too fast, and I wanted to get some support. You can see, despite the fact that we can overmatch, we might not actually be able to overmatch a Bayern. I'm not 100% sure about that. That wasn't a very good salvo. I think, if anything, I aimed a little bit too low and should have aimed more into his superstructure. The Bayern goes down, and we are down on ships and even down on destroyer. But however, because we have the cap advantage and they have to push into us, that's pretty much going to make the whole difference. You can see also that this replay is a little bit stuttery. The replays have kind of been bad lately. I'm not too sure what's going on. That was a decent salvo against the King George. Again, because enough ships are now behind islands or far enough away, I've slowed the ship down again. And once again, I'm trying to shoot at the Belfast because we can delete him. And of course, the Belfast is a really strong ship that you really want to get rid of it. Unfortunately, we only got one overpen, but for some reason the Belfast either used his smoke or doesn't want to smoke. I'm not sure what's going on there. We're going to try the salvo again.
Enemy heavily damaged.
And we do get a Citadel, but we don't take him out. Starting to move northwest again because the enemy flank that has been pushing clockwise this whole way is starting to appear in front of this island. And you can see the angles on the Queen Elizabeth turrets here are actually not bad. It compensates a bit for the fact that the armor is not that good. I do believe it has fairly thick belt armor. The problem is just everything around it is so squishy that it's very easy to get normal pens or to set it on fire. Luckily, we were able to delete the cruiser, partly thanks to our short-fused shells. I turned around there to get closer to this island such that I could have a more direct engagement, I suppose, with the King George who's here. You should remember that the closer you get to islands, the more that island will block a certain sector of where people can aim at you. And again, because the Queen Elizabeth's shells are fairly slow, you can shoot over islands pretty easily. Leave this turning. When you shoot at cruisers, it's usually a good idea to try to wait for them to commit to a turn before you throw the shot. That was decent, even though we didn't get a citadel. You can see that I'm down to my last heal here. I'm about to use it. However, we have been able to use our heals to almost full effect each time, because a lot of the damage we've taken is from fire. So with three fires there, I burned the Damacon instantly, especially since we don't have any heals. Because of the whole situation, the ship is pretty vulnerable, and I'm motoring to get behind an island as soon as possible. You do see that there is the last shown position of a Fujin above us, but the cap had gone red a long time ago, so I knew he wasn't there. Since we dropped off, I slow down again, try to take some shots. Detected, so we speed up again. You can see that this whole time our team has been down, and in fact, a lot of our team has been chasing the Fujin in the south, but just myself and Mofton here, we've been able to hold them off because of how much stronger a defending position is. Not too worried about the ships in the east because they're far away. The Congo is a bit of a problem because he's close. However, his shells can't overmatch us, and our armor should be able to tank him. So I wasn't too concerned about engaging him, despite how low the health is. Of course, we're also going toward this island, which means that he won't really have that good of an opportunity to shoot at us. That was probably from the Graf Spee. You can see even though we were angled pretty much directly at him, he got some penetration damage basically on our superstructure or something like that. A lot of times you don't actually want to go directly bow into something. You want to, well, angle, I guess, because then enemy shells will be more likely to hit your belt, which is where the actual protection is. He probably got some overpens or normal pens. Normally this wouldn't be too big of a deal, but because our health is so low, even overpens are somewhat dangerous. Not much more is going to happen in this game. We're going to get some chip damage here, but you can see we came back from basically having a deficit the whole way because we were able to hold on to these two caps. And I think this replay does a good job of showing how even in domination mode, in a slow battleship, you can set up a defensive perimeter that's very difficult for the enemy team to get through. None of these things are necessarily specific to the Queen Elizabeth. That's why it's not really that good of a ship. I don't feel that it brings too much to the table over, say, the Fuso, which is a bit faster. It has 12 fast-firing shotguns, or the Bayern, which also has 15-inch guns, but actually does have armor. So the graph speed disappears. We're going to try to take a shot at the Belfast, but someone's going to get him for us. Looking at the results screen, there's nothing too special here. 120,000 damage. I do believe that's probably close to my best in this ship. We did get the Confederate, the Dreadnought, the Fireproof, but if you look at the scores, Mofton carried more than we did. We were at the top in a Tier 7 game, which is pretty good. Looking at the details, we only shot AP, nothing from HE. It's possible that against higher tier targets, you may want to go to the HE sometimes, but when I first started playing the ship, trying to spam HE exclusively was really not the way to go. It really plays more like a Bayern or a more traditional battleship, in my opinion. And so that's pretty much for this replay. Have a nice day.